Partido presented his new candidate for the presidency, He exposed his proposals for his government in the ceremony of candidates at the Congress.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Leonardo Barroso Vázquez, and I am the new candidate for the presidency from the Mexican Progressive Party. As everyone knows, Mexico has been suffering from various problems in the sectors, such as economic, social, political, and education. The fight against corruption, illicit enrichment, and abuse of public resources remains a slot in Mexico's agenda. Despite the progress made in national action governments in many states where there are no institutional or legislative balances, governments are committed in legal process with impunity, and it seems that only receive punishment for political reasons when their excesses are unconcealed, undeniable, and scandalous. So, I bring to you proposals for combat against corruption, modify and generate the necessary legislation for the creation of and implementation in the national anti-corruption full system with the support of major civil society organizations. Elaborate and present to the Chamber of Deputies in order to amend articles like 22, 73, 74, 76, and 122 of the Constitution, giving strict monitoring of the implementation of the system and promoting citizen participation from denouncing the corruption of governments. Second one, we have to reform the articles 108 and 111 of the Constitution to prevent public servants to use their immunity and avoid justice. Mexico has more than a decade operating in a framework of economic and financial stability through a fiscal responsible policy, which has led the economic opening. It has been reasonably invested in its infrastructure, and this remains dynamic export sector. This framework proved to be important to overcome the worst economic crisis experienced by the world economy since 1929. However, before this, economic growth in recent decades has not stood up to the country's needs to create jobs and well enough. Mexico has been below world economies, with comparable profiles and potential. Therefore, we bring to you the proposals for lasting and sustainable growth in the economy. First, the minimum wage will be set on a line of well-being based on the value of a basket that takes into account the habits and customs of Mexican families. To consider the change in productivity and the ability of factories' economic results. Second one, to promote the necessary reforms in order to empower workers and employees for early withdrawals of funds from long-term savings, and thereby shield the family income in situation of economic instability. Third, pass laws to ensure the effective implementation of the principle of equal work for equal pay between women and men, and Eliminate discrimination in the perception of salary for any other reason beyond. Mexicans apply to be a country deprived of safety, respect, that enforce human rights, and have an environment of coexistence that allow development of communities, free of all forms of discrimination and violence, where prompt and effective justice is imparted. Also, comply with the Constitution and laws, favoring the rule of law and popular sovereignty. So we bring to you the proposals for the rights and living in the Mexico territory. Amend Article 1, so that it recognizes the dignity of human beings, full equality of rights between men and women, and the rights and guarantees of Mexicans as natural and above the legal order. Second one, amend Article 2, guaranteeing the right to life of all Mexicans, from the moment of conception to natural death, in such a way that the Mexican government is obligated to protect our life with all the necessary elements. A prosperous nation requires the effort and creativity, talent of all Mexicans. Lacks in terms of coverage, quality, and infrastructure at all levels of education and knowledge. Development are still pending for the federal government and state governments. So, we bring to you our proposals for education. First, set the provisions that currently regulate the mandatory professional certification in order to ensure that professional services are granted under quality standards and consistent with the ethical standards for the benefit of users. Second one, integrate and approve a general law for higher secondary education. This allows to realize that obligation and access to upper secondary for the entire school population. To reduce the dropout rate in the level. Progress in the consolidation of a national system high school, so allow mobility between educational models. And also we have to count on with flexible plans to ensure coverage without laying out quality.